guy dominates in the regular season, but they're saying he can't win the big game. Here's Uriah Faber, who's kind of the same situation. You know, he's 0-5 in his last 5 WEC and UFC fights, title fights, but dominates every other fight.
True.
Is that unjustified in your opinion?
No, I mean, I'm sure he's got to be thinking the same thing. He jumped at this opportunity to take this fight. He's never looked. It was perfect timing for him. His 5th fight in 10 months. You guys have heard me say this since the day we, bought this company. I like guys that stay active like that. Stay in better shape. Your timing is on, and he's never looked better. So,
does he need that UFC title to have that legacy as one of the best MMA fighters?
Yeah, I think you do. I think, he was the WEC champ, which is great, but everybody wants that UFC belt, and I think, it's definitely, Saturday's a very defining moment in his career.
Do you think this is like a guy who just, whatever, you guys just making that traffic talk?
He knows. I mean, he's a laid-back dude. He ain't that laid back. He knows he needs to win that belt. He wants that belt, He's a fierce competitor, and winning that thing, if he doesn't, then he doesn't realize what winning that thing will do.
Do you think this is the year where MMA fighting will become legal in the state of New York? There's a great push on your...
This is like Groundhog Day, you know what I mean? I've been sitting in this room, on this stage, answering this question for many years. I hope so.
And let me ask you one thing. There's a lot of amateur fights going on here in New York. There's a lot of leagues. What do you see in that? I mean, the fact that these fights are not regulated, and do you think the state should do something, step in?
I hate amateur fights. What you do is you go into the banner, we're amateur, and you don't pay the athletes. That's what that means. I think college football players should be paid too, so,
But is the lack of action on behalf of the state actually pushing these fighters to go into amateur fighting instead of providing an avenue for them to do this professionally?
Yeah, it's a loophole. It's a loophole in the system where they can call themselves amateur, put on these events, not pay the athletes, and make money.
The last time you were here, you were critical of Sheldon Silver as being one of the reasons it hasn't been legalized. Have you spoken to Sheldon at all?
Well, I don't. But yeah, we have. Yeah.
And what's that conversation
we were just up in Albany this week, walking the halls again and doing what they do. I stay out of the politics. I'm not a very good politician, so we let cooler heads deal with that.
Do you think there's been any traction this week as far as legalization, or is it just take it?
I mean, I think we are where we've always been. I think that if he would let this thing go through, it would pass in a minute. Everybody knows it.
What does he say in those conversations?
I don't know. I don't think he really cares. He's one of the most powerful politicians I've ever come across, ever. Amazing.
You mentioned it's a union thing.
Yeah, this isn't a New York issue. This isn't a mixed martial arts issue. It's not a New York issue. It's a Las Vegas culinary issue. The Las Vegas Culinary Union is orchestrating this whole thing with him because my partners, the Fertitta brothers, are the 4th largest gaming company in the country. Station Casinos is non-union, and that's why we're not in New York. So a Las Vegas issue has become, a New York issue.
Have you talked about it?
No.
How's he doing? He hasn't said anything to anyone.
Yeah, I literally, when we made the decision that we made, I haven't talked to him.
Any kind of timetable?
It sounds like all the rumbling is that if Aldo wins, he can move up and fight Pettis. Is that just fantasy talk and hopeful talk, or do you think that's likely to happen?
Well, I haven't talked to Aldo about it. I mean, what happened was I was talking in L.A. with the media. I said, I'd like to see him go up and fight Pettis. That would be fun. That was it. I mean, I don't know if that's what he wants to do. We never talked about it, but that would be fun.
And a lot of us are looking at Lineker and Bagatinov as kind of a number 1 contender fight. Have you guys had any of those discussions that maybe that could produce a title challenge?
No, but I don't disagree.
He said that he thoughts on Roy Nelson applying for Keith Kaiser's offer.
Yeah. I mean, what do I say to that? I mean, it's just, I think I've said all I have to say about that. It's just, I think it's Roy looking for some attention.
In speaking with him yesterday, he said that he wished that you had given him more support. because he is a fighter.
Because then he would have got the job.
Awesome.
Is that what he thought?
Well, as a fighter,
Yeah.
he thought that as a fighter he could bring, a fighter's perspective to the
What'd you ask me?
Aldo says today he's just waiting for the green light. He really wants to go up to 155. He
There you
wants
go.
to.
Green light.
So does the Thompson loss kind of open the door because now there's no clear-cut guy?
Definitely.
What would you do with his belt though? Would you make him drop it, or would you do like a champion versus champion?
Yeah, I think if he makes the move to 55, he should do it. And drop the belt. And if he doesn't like being at 55, he could drop back down and fight for the title again.
You're okay with someone vacating the belt?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you're a guy like him, which this is crazy, but I'm always talking about. Morale is unbeaten almost 9 years now. It's like 8 years and 9 months. He's 8 years too. He's had the belt for. I mean, he's gone undefeated for 8 years. He's had the belt forever. He's fought everybody, and if he wants to, he should just drop the belt and move up to 55 and take on Pettis. It'd be awesome.
Dan, you had some strong words on Twitter last night directed towards Juliana Pena and her camp. Can you kind of expound on what happened and why you think she needs to leave the camp?
So nobody knows this. People didn't. This hasn't.
We know the injury and that it happened in training, but we haven't heard this.
So you heard
terrible
the injury, right? So it's the worst knee injury I've ever heard of ever in the sport. And you hear about those type of knee injuries in football. Apparently, when she came into the gym, and again, she was hysterical when I talked to her, crying. She just won the Ultimate Fighter. She's ranked number 10 in the world. And she was training in her gym, and one of her training partners, a guy, was saying to her, "Oh, you're wearing your Ultimate Fighter shirt. We're real scared." She says that and was talking smack to her, and then basically attacked her. Jumped on her back, started cranking her neck, and the way that she fell, her knee blew out. The most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my life. A year and a half to 2 years, she'll be out. I told her, leave that disgusting gym and go somewhere else with new coaches, new training partners, whatever. And that's all I know.
We don't know if it's like a pro fighter, an amateur fighter.
I don't know who it was. It was a guy, though, that basically attacked her and blew her knee out.
So her coach says a completely different story.
I bet he does.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't blame him.
does she want to leave? Because that sounds kind of like assault, no?
Yeah, it sounds like assault to me, but how do you consider it assault in a gym? You know what I mean? It's
Jump
like
on someone like that.
I agree, but
Does she want to leave?
what's her coach's story?
Her coach's story was that he was coming to the gym. She's a very aggressive type of trainer. Trains 3 times a day, and she didn't warm up. She was training with these couple guys, didn't do the proper warm-ups, things like he wasn't there to oversee it, and then she severely injured herself.
That's so far from the story she told me right after it happened when she was hysterical and crying.
Right.
Completely opposite
And
story.
for the record, he wasn't blaming her. He was saying that those guys should have known better because she's such a eager beaver that they should have waited for him to be there and make sure that she was ready to start training. That's what he told me.
Completely different story than what she told me. So, somewhere in the middle lies the truth, and you know what I mean?
Do you have an update on Michael Bisping?
Michael Bisping is cleared and ready to roll. He's going to fight on the Tough Nations finale up in Canada with Tim Kennedy.
So he's good. Not a good
Done
career.
deal. Yep. Happened a couple hours ago.
Awesome. How about Chris Leben? Have you talked to him since her time?
Jesus, you're pulling them all out of your hat today. He just texted me friggin' an hour ago. So I haven't talked to him yet. I owe him a phone call.
What's your plan with him? Because I remember the quote you gave that Chris Leben is better when he's engaged.
Yeah.
Can you-
Chris Leben got a job. Chris Leben's working down in San Diego. He's a coach at some place. Chris Leben had some minor tax issues, which he is getting cleared up. Minor in that he never paid his taxes. He's getting that cleared up. He got a job, and he's doing great.
So he's like years of back taxes to pay?
Yeah.
Are Mir and Overeem
Couple bucks. Imagine never paying taxes and making a lot of money. How much that would be? That's how much.
Mir and Overeem fighting for their jobs?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. They need to perform. Everybody keeps asking me if those guys are done. If one of them's getting cut, loser leaves or whatever. What if the fight is a Mark Hunt, Bigfoot Silva fight? I'll keep them both. They need to perform on Saturday night.
earlier this week you came out being supportive of, I guess, legislation to eliminate TRT from MMA. Looking ahead to the Weidman fight coming up with Vitor, if that legislation is passed, does that fight happen in the States or do you go to Brazil?
No. If TRT is done away with, TRT is done away with. Right now, the commission allows TRT, so we allow TRT. It's what we do. Gone. Yeah, and I want it gone. It'd be great.
There was a quote in the story. It wasn't a direct quote; it was an indirect quote that said, "You hope Vitor doesn't get approved for it." Was that accurate? That you hope he doesn't get approved?
I didn't say that. If you allow people to take TRT, why would you not allow Vitor to take TRT? Sorry, you know what I mean? That's my thing. If you allow it, you allow it. I'm hitting everybody here.
Nick Lemon came out in favor of TRT.
Yeah, you know what? I like Nick, and he's a great commissioner. He's a great commissioner. He's actually a guy who really goes above and beyond when it comes to things like this. And there are guys who believe that TRT is cool, and that guys should be able to use it. It's science. It's it's the future. It's I just and I don't necessarily disagree with that. If people didn't cheat, if you get a loophole, people are going to abuse that loophole and cheat. For instance, if you let's say guys start. It's a fact. As we get older, your testosterone starts to drop. It gets lower and lower. So they found this way to get your testosterone back up to what it would be if you were in your early 20s, right? That's great. That's medicine, that's science, whatever. What happens is you get these guys who go through a training camp and get so jacked up on this stuff. If this much gets me here, where will this much get me? Where that much will get you is, less injuries, you're faster, you're stronger. Then you start to taper down because that stuff goes out of your system quick. You start to taper down and you've just completely cheated through your entire training camp, where the other guy who isn't on TRT didn't recover as fast and had all the stuff that goes along with it. But I told you guys about Vitor, and Vitor. There's so many guys on TRT, but Vitor is the fucking guy everybody's after, because he looks so good and his performances have been so great. And this is what I always say: TRT doesn't make you do a spinning back kick any better. It doesn't do this. Vitor's been training hard, and I told you guys a long time ago, we've been all over Vitor Belfort. Vitor Belfort has been tested nonstop. We did the same thing to Bigfoot Silva, and then he takes a shot after we test him. And you see where that got him. So the bottom line is, and the big GSP thing that came out and all this stuff, if you cheat and if you do these kind of things, you get caught. I don't care who's testing you. If it's the Nevada State Athletic Commission or whoever it is, the cheaters always get caught.
Were you surprised Pat Barry walked away?
No, I'm happy.
Why?
Because Pat Barry is a guy who's been in wars. He's fun to watch fight, but it gets to a point where it's like, guy gets knocked out a few times. I would love to see them retire.
It sounds like he still wants to fight, though. It's not MMA. You okay with that?
I'm not his dad, man. He can do whatever he wants to do, but Pat Barry's one of those guys that funny you ask me this, because so many fighters that I know that I've had personal conversations with really, really like Pat Barry and really care about the guy. Like Brock Lesnar doesn't fucking like anybody. Okay? I honestly don't think he likes anybody. He really likes Pat Barry and has a lot of respect for Pat Barry and always talks to me about Pat Barry. If Brock Lesnar likes you, holy shit, you're doing really good. You must be a really fucking good guy.
What I meant by that was, if he goes and fights someone else because he asked for his release, would he be allowed to do that?
Clarify that again, whatever you're asking me.
He said that
He wants to be released from his contract to go fight somewhere else?
if he wanted to go, because he says he still wants to fight, he just doesn't want to wrestle.
He wants to kickbox.
He wants to kickbox.
Right, so would that be okay?
I don't know. I don't know.
He didn't tell you that. Or I don't know.
I haven't talked
You
to
haven't talked to him.
Are we any closer to getting a date on Weidman and Belfort? We know May or July is what it's narrowed down to. Are we closer to getting that done?
Yeah, it's May or July. I don't know which. I think it's going to be May.
think maybe
Yeah.
Memorial Day.
Yeah. Which means it'll be July now that I said that, but I don't know. It's one of them. But no.
Not sure yet. And one other date question. Chayla tweeted that I'm going to retire Vanderlei in July. Is that a fight that's going to happen in July, and is it going to take place in the U.S. or Brazil?
Yeah, no matter what. Yeah, no, it'll happen here. And it'll probably be on the same card as the Weidman tour fight.
Dana, it seems like this is like a new evolution of athletes. That they're finally getting MMA conditioning right. Does that change the protocol to what's going to happen now with guys that are injured? Is there going to be a very specific way that it goes? Like, okay, if you're out this long, this happens to you now. Has that been explored at all?
What's the question?
Meaning, like, so Dominic Cruz was out, and then you finally had to say, okay, this is no longer an interim thing. This has to be your championship now. Based off the amount of time that an athlete is out, is there a specific amount of time now that you're like, okay, this is how it has to be?
Well, we haven't made an exact time. If you're out for this long, you know, but 2 years won't happen again. That won't happen again. I just, you know, you can't let personal feelings get in the way of some of this stuff, and we do sometimes. You know, we really like this kid, and he's had the worst luck ever, and we let it go too long.
But as you were saying, with how important it is to train and recover and to coach, I mean, when you hold people accountable for certain injuries, how is that supposed to go? And what should be a protocol in the gym for how these guys condition their bodies and their longevity as athletes?
Well, one of the things, you know, yeah, these guys, some of these guys, let me give you an example. I'll use the Juliana Pena example. Who in that gym, there's good fighters out of that gym, Michael Chiesa, but who's ranked higher than Juliana Pena that comes out of that camp? Nobody. She's ranked number 10 in the world. She's one of the best female fighters. Just won the Ultimate Fighter. She's got guys jumping on her back. What kind of a camp is that? This is one of your. What is? She should be a priority in that gym. You know what I mean? And normally in a lot of these MMA gyms, you don't see egotistical freaks like that. You know, and like when guys go to. Like when a guy is training and he's fighting for title fights, right? That guy should be the priority in the gym, not 30 other guys, which is kind of one of the things that I think is wrong with training in MMA. If you think about boxing, right? You go into camp for a guy who's got to fight, and everybody comes in to work with him for that camp. Nobody's trying to knock his head off, and nobody's trying to jump on your back and blow your knee out. These are the people that you help to get, and in helping them, you become better. And that's how the system should work. Everybody in there trying to kill each other.
It seems like your MMA strategy has always been iron sharpens iron. You know, you got to get the toughest guys in the room together.
It's true, which is true. I mean, you want to get the best. Normally in boxing, what they'll do is you try to get guys who can mimic the style of, you know, which is completely different than MMA. But, you know, you want to get guys that are going to work with you, guys that you know aren't going to try to hurt you. Guys that, you know, and they can throw out the bullshit. She didn't warm up properly and stuff like that. No, you got to train her with a bunch of idiots. And somebody attacked her and blew her knee out. You know, it's like, yeah, she's one of the best fighters in the world. You know, and even though maybe that gym, or I don't know the story behind her, but got her there, but that's some podunk. You know, that's just some bottom feeder stuff right there.
When you got the phone call earlier this week from Brazil about Chael and Wanderlei, what was your immediate reaction?
I wasn't shocked. I mean, you know, that thing's been a time bomb since they got there, and it's without a doubt the worst thing that's ever happened on The Ultimate Fighter in 20-something seasons.
As a promoter, does it make it easier to promote that fight when you have that footage, or is it just one of those things you want to just toss out the window?
Well, that fight we can do no commercials, no newspaper, no radio, no nothing, and that people want to see that fight. No, I don't like guys fighting. I don't like guys fighting outside of the octagon. It's never happened. I mean, if you look at all the guys that we've had in there who've gotten each other's faces and done what they've done, it's never come to a real fight, you know? And I told them, I said, hey, listen, you idiots want to fight for free? Okay, I'd love to not pay you. It's going to be a big fight. I'll not pay you. Come on. It's crazy. But how bad they dislike each other.
Chill, does he feel okay being there? Does he feel safe?
Yeah. Chael's got more security down there than Obama. Okay.
Well, was it captured on camera?
Oh yeah.
Did you show it?
They were getting ready to do the weigh-ins.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like a
You
six cameras in there.
So you have to show it because it's part of something that was.
We don't have to show it, but we'll see what happens when we go to the editing. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Chael is a...
Can they be punished because of that?
Huh?
Can Vanderlei and Sonny...
People were punished, yeah. People were punished.
Danny, you were asked this last week. I don't think, at least I didn't see you give like a clear-cut answer on it though. So if Vitor goes and applies for TRT in Nevada, and they go through their process and they say, no, you can't use one, then win or lose, obviously I think there will come a point where he goes and fights in Brazil again. That Brazilian commission says we have in our documentation that he can.
Excuse me, guys.
So if he's denied that in Nevada, if it approves in Brazil, that could be confusing for people. If you just say we're going to go by Nevada's ruling.
I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I don't know how we would handle that. Hopefully this thing comes out real soon and they ban it. I'd rather just see them ban it. Do away with it. Then there's no confusion.
If Vanderlei Chael happens in... if Weidman
But
Belfort...
my question is, why does everybody care about Vitor? Why Vitor?
Because of a positive test in
There's
the past.
50 other guys using TRT, but Vitor is
Positive test in the past, that's why.
In Nevada.
tons of guys. I mean, it's like Vitor is the guy that people are like focused on. It's so crazy. You guys, the fans, it's like Vitor. What if Vitor doesn't get this? What if he goes over to this country? Everybody, there's so many guys that are on it. Nobody says one word about any other guy that's on TRT.
It's kind of a little bit of a lot of things, but I think, Kaiser coming out and saying, I don't think he would get one in Nevada, that made a lot of people think, well, he's fighting in Brazil because he can get one down there.
See, Kaiser's gone. I don't want to, but Kaiser said a lot of things that were,
The most famous guys who are on it, like Chael and Frank Mir, unfortunately, none of them had positive tests. So that's Dan Henderson. So that's why people keep pointing to him. I would say that's why it's the biggest fight.
Still doesn't make any sense. But
If Weidman Belfort happens in May, do you think Vanderlei Sonny can happen in May too?
yeah, it will be on the same card. That fight will be on the same card.
Do you already have a fight for Khabib Nurmagomedov?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And what about Gilbert Melendez, about his contract?
Still working on that. Yep, we'll get there. Just knocked out a ton of guys. We've been going through contract renegotiations here. A ton of guys. We got them all done. He's the last guy. We're close though.
Considering Anthony Johnson at all, he's a free agent now, 6-0 since he was released from the UFC.
Yeah, me and Joe were talking about him the other day. I mean, I like the kid. I always did.
Have you seen his fight?
No.
Outside?
I think I saw the Arlovsky fight. I saw the Arlovsky fight. Who else? I think I saw another one. No, I didn't see that one. I didn't see that fight. Lorenzo and Joe saw it.
Dana, how long is Cain Velasquez is gonna be the only option for having a card in Mexico?
How long is he going to? He's the.
I mean, we know.
He's the option. When he's ready, we're going.
But Ricardo Lama said today if he won, he's gonna ask you to fight in Mexico if you have to defend it. Is he a possibility also?
I got no problem with that. Yeah.
And do you have any news on Cain's recovery?
Oh, I need Kane too. I can't just go down there with him. I need Kane. Kane is the guy that everybody knows. He's been on a zillion tours down there in Mexico. That's the guy we got to go with.
So it's gonna be on 2015.
He should be ready in a couple months here. I think midsummer.
So November, December could be a possibility for
Yes.
Mexico.
Any plans of going back to Asia?
Asia? Oh, hell yeah.
How's it going?
It's going great. It's going great. We're going back, March 1st. Yep.
Asia has a big support for UFC. They're not getting enough fights there.
I agree. That's what I try to tell these guys. That's what everybody's saying. You're doing too many fights. We're not doing enough fights. There's places that are starving for it, and that's what we've basically set up for this year. This year we're traveling all throughout Asia. We want to get down to the Philippines. We know it'll be huge in the Philippines.
Any message for the Philippines? I'm from the Philippines, and everyone's hungry about UFC there.
Yeah, I know. Believe me. I know years ago we were going to go to the Philippines and it all fell apart. We're getting closer and closer now. Obviously, what we're doing over in China now, Philippines is next.
Why did it fall apart?
Well, what happened was that we were planning on doing that thing and we had a big sponsor behind us and then the sponsor fell through.
Okay.
Yeah, so we pulled the plug on that one, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing because now's the time. We weren't ready then. We're ready now.
Like this year? Next year?
I don't know. It could be this year or next year.
Okay.
Dana, Ricardo Lamas hasn't been the most like verbal or a guy that people have considered to be a star. If he wins Saturday, what kind of champion do you think he'd be?
Well, if you look at Ricardo, he's a good-looking kid.
Mm-hmm.
He speaks well. He speaks Spanish. The list goes on and on. It's not about. You don't have to have these. Listen, if you get a guy like Chael Sonnen, it's awesome. It's like a home run. But it doesn't matter to me. If a guy can fight and he's really talented, he'll come into his own. If he wins the title, and believe me, he'll figure it out.
You had said that Fox had asked you to be part of this weekend. Are you concerned about the buy rate for this show because there's not maybe a big name to attract that mainstream, the casual fan?
We have two. We're headlining with two Brazilians in New Jersey, and the thing sold out. And anybody who knows the sport knows what great fights these are. These are great fights. I don't ever worry about that. We roll in, we do our thing, and do I think we're going to do 1 million buys this weekend? No, but we're going to do well.
Have you seen a trickle-down effect of being close to the Super Bowl, like more mainstream media or
I went to that Radio Row today. It was insane. I've been doing radio for 13 years. I mean, there's weeks where I just do hours and hours of radio. They bounce you into all the different markets. Met so many people today that I'd never done their shows. It was huge for us to be a part of this thing.
How well versed were they in?
Very. Everybody at Radio Row for the Super Bowl was well versed. Maybe you'll have a duo,
Right.
a radio duo. One guy knew everything, and the other guy didn't know much. So the one guy would take over. But yeah, it was really positive.
What about at the fight on Saturday? A lot of NFL celebrities
Sold out.
Right.
Anybody who's asking me for tickets this week, you can't get tickets. Like Frankie Edgar called like yesterday. I need 6 tickets and Henzo needs 2, and I'm like, yeah, it's over, dude. Done. The tickets are sold out. I don't have 1 ticket. It's crazy. We have no tickets whatsoever. Ice-T called today. I'll buy 4. I don't have 4. I can't sell you 4. I can't give you 4 or sell you 4.
I mean, for Ice-T?
Nobody. Not even for Frankie Edgar.
Can this next event in Brazil work as a middleweight Grand Prix? Because Lyoto is fighting Musasi and Jacare is fighting Carmon. Do you think the winner of these fights can face each other?
I don't know. Yes, I mean, of course they could, but I don't know what the plan is. But I'll tell you this: I love those fights. I'm really excited for those fights. Yeah.
Are Uriah and Chael similar in the sense that they both take fights on short notice and want to take fights on short notice?
Well, here's the difference with Uriah. Uriah just came off a fight. I mean, this will be his 5th fight in 10 months, so he's in great shape. He always keeps himself in great shape, and he jumped on this opportunity. I mean, I don't think he loses anything by taking this fight in the amount of time that he did it. He was already in shape and ready to go.